my name is Allison. I'm Director of Education here at the National First Ladies Library in Canton, Ohio. I have a really fun project for you today. We've been talking all about fun and fitness in the first garden, and we have a really cool activity inspired by victory gardens. Anybody heard of a victory garden before? Now, if you go back in the past to the White House, you might see an image kind of like this. So early on, when the White House was first built, there was space for animals and farming went on there. But by the time Eleanor Roosevelt reached the White House, most of the property was just really beautiful gardens, right? But if there was anyone who could change that, it's Eleanor. And when World War II came around, food became really scarce. They needed to feed troops, they needed to feed a lot of people, and Eleanor had the idea to create a victory garden at the White House that would help promote growing your own food so that everyone would have access to food. So what did she do? She went to the president and told him her idea. And what did he say? No way. He didn't want to do it. And they actually had a soil scientist look at the land at the White House, and those soil scientists found out that the land was perfect for farming, and FDR said, hey, can you please tell Eleanor that it's totally full of rocks because I don't want her to do this project. Guess what? That guy knew who the boss was because he went to Eleanor, told her the land was fine, and she got started, but she needed a helper. And guess what? There was a kid at the White House. There was an advisor to Roosevelt. Their family lived at the White House too. Her name was Diana Hopkins. And I actually have a picture of her here. So she got to hang out with a lot of cool people. Here she is with Winston Churchill and Fela, FDR's dog. So Diana was 11 at the time, and they gave her this little plot of land, and she worked the plot of land, and she grew all sorts of fruits and vegetables. So FDR changed his mind by the time he saw Diana doing an amazing job growing fruits and vegetables. And actually by 1942, 15 million families had created victory gardens. And by 1944, around the time that FDR gave a speech promoting victory gardens, 20 million had made over 80 million pounds of food. That's 40% of the United States food at that time actually came from these victory gardens. So how can you get started if you don't have a plot of land in your backyard, or if you do a soil test and it's full of rocks? There's an easy way to get started making your own garden. So we started with herbs, and we want to make some really cool recipes with you, some really good healthy stuff in the coming weeks. So we're going to work with basil and cilantro. So I really love salsa, so I took this bottle, and if you have any kind of recycled bottle, big or small, this I got at a store like this. I didn't grow this one all the way, but it needed a big pot, so I used a big bottle. But if you're starting from seeds like we're going to today, you'll need something like this. So check your recycle bin and see if you have it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut it like this. So we've got a little space on the top, just so, right? And this is where you're going to need an adult to help you out, just so you don't poke yourself. So I poked 2 little holes here. Now, I love to water plants. I love to water them a little too much. Sometimes I water them so much that they get root rot, they get yucky. So this is going to help us water our plants just the right amount. So I'm going to take a little string like so, and I'm going to put it right through, just like this, where my holes are. And that's how we're going to water our plants. They're going to reach down into the water below and drink up through this string. So here's our string. And now we're ready to plant our seeds. So I'm going to start adding my dirt like so. And if you've planted with me before, you know I usually put in maybe like 3 or so seeds. So I'm going to fill this much, and then I've got my cilantro seeds. So these you can probably get at a gardening or hardware store, or if your library is open. Sometimes libraries have seed libraries. So I've got all these seeds on my table now, and I'm going to plop maybe 3 or 4 of them in here just to see what we can get growing in the next few weeks. And I'm gonna cover them with just a little bit more soil. And then I'm gonna take the bottom of my water bottle and I'm gonna fill it up with water, just like this. And I'm gonna take my string and I'm gonna make sure it's touching the water, just like this. So make sure you get it in. This string is kind of curly, so you might want to just push it down, or make sure as you watch it throughout the day that it's touching that water. Maybe I'll fill it up a little bit more later. And there we have our planter. And the cool thing about this is while you're getting ready to plant it, or before you put it in, you can always decorate it. I was using these Sharpies because I know that they won't get yucky from the water, and color. Or I can label it, I can write what's gonna be in it. So I could write basil, or I could draw a pizza because I know that I'm gonna make a pizza and use it, the basil in it. And or you could collage on it, anything you wanted to do with it. And then you'll have a really beautiful plant that can start to grow. So you can grow these into bigger basil and cilantro plants like so. And then you can meet up with us in a few weeks and we'll experiment with our plants and see what we can make with them, what we can make to eat. Sound good? So happy planting, and I can't wait to hear from you and see your victory garden. Thanks so much for joining me today.